Hello everyone, this is Azanar, welcoming you to a new series, Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction. Diablo 2 is a game that I have spent many years playing. I've probably put in at least 2,000 hours into this game, if not more. It's easily one of the best games I've ever played. And now, you're going to join me on this journey. First, we're going to open our auto map here. It's very important. I always run this auto map. You can run it in the corner, but I find I just like to run it over everything. Usually, when you get out in the wild, things aren't necessarily this cluttered in front of your character. First thing you can see is we start near this guy here, Wareve, and he wants to talk to us.
Greetings, stranger. I'm not surprised to see your kind here. Many adventurers have traveled this way since the recent troubles began.
Wareve is basically here telling us that things are going on, and he wants us to go talk to somebody over here, but we're not going to do that right now. First, I'm just going to take you on a bit of a tour. As you can see, this here in this area is our private stash. I am playing this online. Your gold max right from the beginning is 2.5 million. That's actually very little when you get into certain parts of this game, but to be honest, later on in the game, especially online, gold as a commodity isn't necessarily worth very much. At the same time, since you saw it, that was our inventory, which you open here. We start with a short staff, a two-handed weapon. It gives us 1 to firebolt. That's not going to be very useful to us in a bit, but right now it's actually quite useful. And we start with a scroll of Identify and a scroll of Town Portal. Now we're going to go over here. I'm just going to quickly take you on a tour of the camp and see some people. This here is Geed. You can talk to him, trade, and you can gamble. Gambling is something that can be useful at times, but not necessarily. What gambling is he'll show you items, but you don't see what kind of items they are. They cost more, and you may get a great item, you may get a terrible item. It's good for throwing away money if you don't have it. Charcy here is the Blacksmith. You can trade or repair. Repairing is very important. Once you get really good equipment, you're going to have to repair it quite often. This is Kasha.
Good day.
Kasha here. At the moment, you can only talk to her. She'll become more important later. And this is the leader of the settlement, Akara.
There is a place of great...
Akara is first going to give us our first quest here, the Den of Evil. You can trade with Akara. Akara is important to trade with every time you come back to the camp here in the first act. She'll have potions if you need them. She'll have scrolls, keys. But most importantly, every time you talk to her, she'll heal you. You always want to talk to those characters because they'll give you a free heal and you don't need to use potions or something. Now let's look at some screens here. This is our character screen. We have Strength, Dexterity, Vitality, and Energy. Strength increases your physical damage as well as the damage of other attacks. Dexterity increases your attack rating or your defense. Attack rating, however, is important. It's important, but only for physical attacks. Magical attacks, at least I think so. I'm not 100% sure. Vitality increases your stamina and your life. And energy increases your mana. As well, you have some resistances down here, but we don't have any of those yet. I've shown you the inventory. Then there's your skill tree. At the moment, you can see in blue, from our items, we have 1 to Firebolt, but it's not important yet. Party screen for online. For the purposes of this playthrough, from the 1st till the end of the 5th act in normal, I will be playing this solo. However, eventually, my plan is to play multiplayer with other people. Then there's the auto map tab, message log, and your quest log, as well as your game menu. Now we're going to jump into it here. We're going to leave town and jump into the Blood Moor.
Evil beware.
The Blood Moor here is the first area of the game with the easiest enemies. Most of these enemies you can probably just kill with one hit. We're going to pick these up. If you pick up items that you don't have anything equipped for that slot, it automatically will. Items will have different grades. Crude items are the worst. You generally don't want to pick them up. I only pick those boots up there because we don't have anything anyway, so we might as well have something. We're going to just go around the Blood Moor here, and we're going to basically kill absolutely everything we can find. Before we go into the Den of Evil, we're going to want to jump up a level or two. Now, something I like to do, and I find it's the best for gaining levels and for increasing your powers, when you go into an area, is to completely explore the entire area. Some people will basically just jump in, kill a bunch of enemies, and move on. However, if you explore the whole area, it's much easier to level up. Now, I'm going to actually throw away these cracked boots. We already burnt out their usefulness, and they're not going to be worth any money. I'm going to pick up these potions, and especially the Gravelin, Javelin, and Grand Charm. These are unidentified items with magical properties. They're going to be worth a good amount of money. You, at a certain point in the game, only want to be picking up those items. Now, when you level up, you get 5 stat points. At this point, I want to put those into Vitality. We have a decent amount of energy and mana right now, so we don't want to worry about that in the first level. We might soon enough, but I want to make sure we have a good amount of stamina and life. Now, for our first spell, we're going to take Charged Bolt, and we're going to switch off to that spell. In this playthrough, I'm going to be playing a... See, it's not an energy shield sorceress. It's basically... It's a high-powered, high DPS sorceress build based on lightning skill, where all you focus on is your magical and damage output with lightning. It's maybe slightly difficult to do this run solo. If it becomes impossible, I will seek to go multiplayer. But I'm pretty sure, at least in normal, you can complete this playthrough with just this build. And later difficulties in the game, Hell and Nightmare, for example, a lot of the enemies will start to gain certain resistances, and some enemies will be resistant to lightning completely. Specifically, I know from playing a single-player playthrough of this game with a paladin focused on lightning aura. One of the there's a certain set of 3 brothers. 3 enemies you fight in the 5th act. One of them is lightning resistance, and it made it impossible for me to continue at that point. We're just going to keep going around here, keep exploring. One thing I do love about Diablo 2 is that every time you jump into a game, the maps are procedurally generated. It makes the game always something new. You know, it's the same game every time you play it. The core gameplay is the same, but it'll always feel a little different. Oh, interesting. This here is the Den of Evil. It's the first place that we're supposed to go into here. However, we don't want to go in there yet. Not every single territory, but most zones in the game, such as the Blood Moor here, will have little caves or alcoves like that you can go into. You don't want to go into them right away. You can, you know, obviously. And to be honest, the Den of Evil, at At this point in time, you can go into the Den of Evil immediately after reaching level 2. But what I like to do is completely burn out an area, gain as much experience and levels as I can before I take on the hardest challenge. You always want to be at your maximum power when you go into something. Okay, there we go. Whoa. Now you'll see that there are certain enemies here that we've been fighting. We've been fighting Fallen. We've been fighting those little guys, Quillboars. I've also been fighting zombies. Every area has its own enemy set, and generally an act itself will have its own enemy set. And in many zones you will see updated and upgraded versions of those enemies, or a little twist. I'll use Fallen as an example. Here you'll see Fallen. In the next zone, you will see Fallen again, but they will have Fallen Shaman around them. And the Shaman will shoot fireballs at you, and they'll also resurrect dead Fallen. After that, you'll eventually see more upgraded ones. The upgraded ones will be Carvers, Dark Ones, Devilkin. This way, you always sort of have new enemies to fight, but it's not always completely new every single time. You know, back when this game was created, you know, obviously you're on a time and monetary budget, so you don't necessarily want everything to be completely new all the time, or else you'll work yourself into a point where the game's impossible to pay to pay for to create it. I'm just gonna sit here for a second. One of the things that is a little annoying about the start of the game here is that you have very limited stamina. Eventually, once you put enough points into Vitality, that problem gets solved, but right now we run our stamina through quite quickly. Now that we've completely burned out the Blood Moor here, we are going to jump into the Den of Evil. If you go to the quest log here, it says to kill all the monsters in the den. It wants us to fully wipe the cave. So we're going to do that. Oh boy. Immediately upon coming in here, we have some fun to deal with. That's a lot of mana I burned out there. Oh, luckily enough, we just got a level. Oh boy, that was fun. Okay, I'm going to put these next 5 points into energy, and I'm going to quickly run away. So Gargantuan Beast here. These guys are fairly strong, although not particularly fast. For skill, once again... No. I'm going to put our next point here into Warmth. Warmth gives a 30% increase to the rate at which you recover mana. For this build, we're only going to put a single point into this. You can see a next increase would only be a 12% increase. The increases in terms of the percentage by which they help you diminish very rapidly. So we put 1 point into that, and then until we reach the break point for our skills, level 6, we're going to be putting the rest of our points into Charged Bolt there. Charged Bolt is a nice secondary skill to have. While this build does focus on lightning as your main skill, Charged Bolt is actually a really good secondary skill to have. You can see that it has a number of bolts to it. Certain levels will increase the number of bolts, so if you're surrounded by a large number of enemies, well, you can use lightning to clear them. Charged Bolt can actually be very effective as well. Lightning is more effective against single targets, whereas Charged Bolt is very effective against crowds. Now, when you're fighting Fallen here, who have shamans around, you want to try to kill the shamans as quickly as possible. Obviously, the shamans, as I said earlier, resurrect dead Fallen, so if you just fight the Fallen the entire time, eventually the shamans will just overwhelm you. Okay, we're gonna keep going through here. Another Grand Charm, how nice. Now, the Blood Moor and the Den of Evil here are obviously intended to be a slight tutorial for the game. A very easy first area that shouldn't give you really any trouble. The enemies are very basic and they're not difficult to deal with at all. The only thing in this area that should cause you to have to go back to town would be to run out of inventory space. You know, you can't pick anything more up. Well, there's no point in being there then. The main point is to gain as many levels, abilities, stat points, and loot as possible. At this point in the game, early on, money is actually quite important. You may at times need to buy equipment, although like you never want to have to buy equipment. Most of the time you'll find equipment. Okay, well, that spread was kind of annoying there. I'm going to use this minor mana potion here, and we're going to go here. This here is Corpse Fire. Corpse Fire is a unique enemy. Okay, run away. Okay, he was hitting us from quite far away. That's interesting.
Not enough mana.
Unique, not in the sense that he's different from everybody else, but unique in that he's unique in terms of his type. Every now and then in certain areas you'll encounter enemies like this, where a monster will have a name and certain abilities. Some of these monsters you will see every single playthrough, some you won't. It depends. Corpse Fire is one that you will see every time. There will always be a Corpse Fire in the Den of Evil, and there are certain enemies like that that you will continue to see.
I am overburdened.
Yes, I know you're overburdened. We're using some of these. Now, I really should go back. My inventory's full, but I don't want to if I don't have to until we're done here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on, and only if there's something I absolutely have to pick up will I go back to town. Yeah, there should only be... See, the quest log's popped up again because it's giving us a counter of how many enemies there are left. And that was it. You can see now that we've cleared it. There's a white light.
This cave has been purged of evil.
Purged of evil, you see. How nice. At least until our next playthrough, eh? In Diablo 2, whenever you quit the game or exit, the enemies will always regenerate, allowing you, if necessary, to go back to areas like this and grind for levels or gear or equipment if you need to. Even though we have no stamina, we're going to limp back to town here. In town, you can always run, even if you don't have any stamina, and we're going to talk to
You
Akara.
have cleansed the den of evil.
Cleanse the Den of Evil, she says. How nice. Quest completed. Now, we gained a level at the very end there. I'm going to put these next 5 points into Vitality again. Now, in terms of stats, for what I'm going to be doing the build here, the main stat is Energy. Vitality and Strength are going to be raised up to a certain point. Vitality, if I recall, to about 100, and Strength is about 150 some. At least it's enough to where certain pieces of equipment that this build suggests you to get. Dexterity we're not going to touch at all. And instead, all of our remaining points will go into Energy. For skills, for beating the Den of Evil, Akara awards you with another skill point. We're going to pour both of these skill points into Charge Bolt. And there we're going to close. Now we're going to go to Akara here. You see we have a number of items here that are identified. Oof, I should not have picked that up. That's only worth 9 gold. That's not good. I'm going to do this first. This requires 12 strength. However, we don't have any strength. Might have been an idea to do that early. I'm going to put this cap of energy in here. And when I'm going to... No, I'll do that in a second. I'll finish everything here first. Need a scroll of... Oh, we don't have enough money. Okay. We're running into some fun already, aren't we? Our belt here, I'm going to, at the moment, keep this 2 healing, 2 mana. Once we get belts that allow us to hold more potions, I'm going to focus heavily on mana, because mana is what's going to keep us alive. These potions here we can just sell. This we can sell. We can sell this, this we don't need. The key I will be keeping. The throwing knife is worth a lot of money. This here, javelin, 120. Okay, Grand Charm. 12% faster hit recovery. That sucks. I don't want that. 3 to strength. Woo! We will hold on to that. Now, next level, I will sink 5 points into strength, but for now, this charm allows us to wear this quilted armor of thorns, making our enemies take damage when they hit us. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to buy these tomes. Tomes allow you to store up to 20 each scrolls of Town Portal and Identify. I'm going to buy 6 more of those, and I'm going to sink the rest of my money into Tomes of Town Portal. Now at this point I've sold everything that I want to sell. We have our charm keys, very important for opening chests that are locked. We have Town Portal and Identify, and we have these gems here. Gems are used later in the game when you can for socketing. There are 7 in total, 6 gems, as well as skulls. They all do different things. The amethyst here, you'll see if you put it into different things, it has different effects. This one is based on either attack, strength, or defense. It's a very physical gem. Topaz here is lightning damage, better chance of getting magic items, or lightning resistance. We're going to want to hold on to gems as much as we can, because you want to get perfect gems. You want to get the best gems possible before you socket. Now we're also going to deposit the rest of our gold. Now, this video has been long enough. We've accomplished everything I want to in this video. The Blood Moor and the Den of Evil are cleansed, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.